I said, what are the rules that you follow when you have a big decision to be made? And she looked at me a little puzzled and said, well, I don't know. I just think about it and then I decide. Good morning, Matt.
Morning, Zane.
Hey, I guess, well, last time we were talking about decisions and how different decisions are made. And I had a client approach me and she said, well, you're just lucky you made lots of good decisions in your life. And I had to stop her and say, well, wait a minute. Oops. Some of it is luck. Let's just be honest. We have good luck, we have bad luck. But I said, what are the rules that you follow when you have a big decision to be made? And she looked at me a little puzzled and said, well, I don't know. I just think about it and then I decide.
I just think about it.
I said, okay, so you're telling me you don't have a set, series of rules that you go through deciding on something.
Like a protocol.
Yeah, a protocol, a system, parameters that you try to stay within. And so I thought, let's talk about this. And I wrote down my 5 rules for decision making. And I realized, I go through these pretty much across the board. Even, and it'll sound kind of funny, but okay, what am I going to eat for lunch? Let's talk about this. And obviously that's, relatively trivial compared to, are we going to make an investment in an apartment complex or something?
Sure.
But we need to have a series of rules that we follow so that we're not just caught up in the day. We're not just caught up in our own emotions. And this isn't to say that you can't trust yourself, because in the end, we have to make the decision that we agree with, or not make the decision at all. But we have to have a series of rules that we follow. So let's just jump into it. The first one, and obviously this is for bigger decisions than just lunch.
Sure.
But listen to 3 people and get the opinions of 3 people that you believe are either smarter than you or more experienced than you in whatever the decision subject or topic is. Okay, so a good example of that would be if I'm looking at making an investment. Am I just going to decide, oh, well, yeah, I've got the money in the bank, I'm going to make this investment. Sounds good, here it is. No, I'm going to go search out at least 3 different opinions from people on, and those opinions are going to involve people that maybe I think their net worth is better than mine or higher than mine. Maybe they've got more experience in, say, whatever the asset class is that I'm looking at. Or I just know, okay, they've been successful for this many years. They were around before I was. And I'm going to go listen to them. I'm going to search them out and say, hey, can I take you to coffee? Can we have lunch? Can I get your opinion on this? And then really listen to them. One of the things that I hear all the time is people will ask me a question about something, and then what happens?
Oh, they do the exact opposite.
Yeah, they don't listen. They go, yeah, I know what you're saying, but I really feel like I want to do this. You go, okay, then why did you ask me in the first place? Okay, so number 1, search out 3 people that are smarter than you, that have mastered something because they have more experience than you, and then listen to what they have to say.
And if I may add, this is actually something what I know I observe of myself when I see myself calling on people and really like, okay, I talked to 2 people already today about this, but I'm making a 3rd phone call. I know that whatever I'm doing, I'm really stuck on. Like there's something that's either very, very important or it's something that I'm really worried about. Yeah. Like there's something going on because this is just inherently something I do to triangulate and come up, because ultimately my future self has to be able to look back on whatever critical decision I was making and say like, hey, look, you did the best with the information you had and you sought out people that were smarter than you. So whether it turns out good or bad, at least you did your part, right? Because there's no right answer here. It's a very tough one.
Well, and one of the things that this client brought forward, and she said, "You seem to make all good decisions." I said, "Well, I appreciate your confidence, but that couldn't be further from the truth. I've made a lot of bad decisions and a lot of mistakes in my life, whether they involved investments or anything else. But like you said, you have to go through the process and trust the process. This doesn't mean you're going to be perfect. This doesn't mean you're going to make every decision right. But you're going to seek out, number one, seek out those three people. Now, this isn't about team building. And that's a key here. With social media, who do we interact with? Facebook makes darn sure that we're only interacting with who?
Oh, people that agree with us.
Yeah, our friends. We don't want to just ask our friends. This isn't about building a team and going, well, I think this is a good idea and I'm going to find three people that really agree with me. No, we want to find three people that are going to give us their honest opinion and not just come from a hand-selected group that we know, okay, they think just like I do. Therefore, I'm going to trust, or it's going to be an easy decision. I can go pick a couple people that are going to agree with me, and then I'm fine. I'm going to railroad this thing through. And it's an interesting process when you look at how big decision. Like I always tried to look at my companies and say, okay, I'm going to run them like they're big companies. Okay, well, what does a big company have? Big company has a board of directors. Okay, what are those guys? Boards of directors are people that have established themselves as having been successful, maybe in the business that they're on the board for, maybe in other businesses, but they've established themselves as good decision makers, good thinkers. And they're going to look at different parameters and they're going to bring different angles of thought to the board. And that's why they're included on the board of directors. And most boards are relatively decentralized, if you will, in terms of they don't want just yes men that are going to follow what the CEO says or anything like that. So you look at this and go, okay, why do big companies always have boards of directors? Well, the idea is search out other people's ideas. You can go back as far as you want. You can go back to biblical times and the apostles, and or when we have a meeting, we have to have a quorum of at least this many people from the board in order to make a decision. So it's always about searching out and finding different opinions or reasons why or why not. So first one is talk to three people that are smarter than you and or have better experience than you at whatever you want to make the decision about.
That's beautiful.
Okay. Number two is just the opposite. Okay, we found three people that we're not really sure about their opinion, but we're kind of going to guess that, okay, they're smarter than us and they're more experienced than us, so I can trust their opinion. I'm going to look for a couple of people that have the exact opposite thought. And that is, maybe I'm trying to, decide on an investment. I want to talk to a couple of people that think it's the worst idea in the world. And then the big thing is, let's listen to them. Okay, because they're more than likely going to come up with some reason for not liking the idea that I haven't come up with. And so I don't want to just poo-poo them and go, you don't really know what you're talking about, because they disagree with me. If I find someone that disagrees with me, I want to sit down and listen to them and listen to their reasoning. Now, maybe they're way off whack out in left field somewhere, and I really don't want to listen to them, but maybe they have some reasoning where you go, you know what? I never really thought about that. That's something to consider here. And so number two is find at least two people that are not going to agree with you.
Yeah, Patrick Lencioni, the business consultant, and he set up a character analysis concept called the working genius, but which was hugely successful. You can find it in any like airport library. Like it's one of the few books that has really risen to the top. And one of his 6 personality traits within the working genius model is the discerner. So you have like a wanderer who comes up with like oddball ideas that nobody thinks of. You have an inventor, you have a discerner, you have a few more. But the point is the discerner's whole gig is that they can find problems in things, and you present them with things, and they drive inventors insane because inventors come up with ideas, and then the discerners are like, that's they just have problems with it. Problem with the way it's rolled out, problem with the product, problem with anything, right? And they are absolutely vital to a functioning, lean, like well-oiled machine, because if you don't have somebody discerning between like, that's a bad idea, that's a bad idea, that's a bad idea, and at least airing out what the primary cautions should be with the different ideas, you can't fortify the idea against those cautions. You can't, if you don't know what somebody would dislike about it, you can't fix that thing.
Absolutely.
So the idea that it's like, oh, you should only surround yourself with people that like it, fine. You might get a lot of good information. They may like it for very specific reasons, but you may be missing that one person who's like, I don't like this because of this thing.
Yeah.
And if you had known before taking action, maybe you could have fixed that thing, but you have to have the people that are going to dislike it. Doesn't mean you have to kill it, right? You don't have to kill the process. You don't have to kill the product. You don't have to kill the idea, but you need to know what the weak points of the idea are.
Absolutely. So, number 1, listen to 3 people that are smarter, more experienced. Number 2, find a couple people that absolutely think it's the worst idea around, or like you say, a discerner that's not necessarily going to poo-poo everything and think it's a terrible idea, but they're going to come up with roadblocks. They're going to come up with ideas that we haven't thought through.
Right.
Okay. So number 3 is, let's look at this thing long-term. What are the long-term ramifications of this decision? Now, obviously, when I started out and said, I look to people to help me, decide on lunch. Not too many long-term ramifications. Well, unless you stop and go, wait a minute, if I do this lunch thing every day, and I got a group of people that like to go to hamburgers and fries, or a group that likes to buy salads and, maybe a lighter lunch, do you see okay, so we've got to have good people around us helping us, but let's look at the long-term ramifications. If I eat a 2,000 calorie lunch, am I going to go back and be very productive in the afternoon?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so, maybe that's even a kind of a trivial matter of what we have for lunch. But when we're looking at investments, when we're looking at developing, a good portfolio or generational wealth, we've got to look at long term. Where, okay, something's popping right now. It's hot. I want to get in on it right now. What's its chance of being hot 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And far too often, we're caught up in this melee, if you will, this excitement of, well, that's what's cool, that's what's popular. And actually, I'm getting ahead of myself, but going with something that's going to work today and tomorrow and next year and 5 years from now. Why do we always talk about real estate?
Oh, long-term play. Long-term
play. It's not, this is, This is what's happening today.
Right.
I don't know who said it, somebody famous way back when, they're not making any more real estate.
Right.
you know.
Right, absolutely. And again, like the real estate is something that people have thought about and valued since we had people, right? Like territorial hunter-gatherer tribes. Like we care about real estate.
Yeah, we care about location.
Right.
So look at the long-term ramifications. And the one that comes to mind here is, and I'll probably get in trouble for this, but crypto. Okay. What's been really popular over the last 10 years? Everybody loves to talk about crypto. And if you've got a friend that's into crypto, you can't shut them up. You can't get them to stop talking about, because what have they done? They've gone past the decision-making process and they've surrounded themselves. What do people that are really into crypto do?
Oh, hang out with other crypto people.
Bang! You know, oh, I'm going to be so wealthy. Oh, I'm going to buy an island. I'm going to do that. Oh, when mine hits, it's going to go 70-fold and blah, blah, blah. Okay. So what are the long-term ramifications? Okay. We've had monetary policy for as long as we've had government, as long as we've had society.
Right.
So anyway, looking at this, you can probably kind of cut down some of these ideas, one of them being crypto. It's probably not the best long-term investment or the long-term ramifications are not the greatest.
Well, yes. Okay.
And I know I can hear people yelling at me through the...
No, not people that you care about. Right? Like first off, Buffett had a great insight in one of his books where he was talking about the long-term ramifications of atypical innovation. Okay. So for instance, he's like, think about cars. Okay. Everybody has a car. He's like, but there were 200 American car companies, in like the 1920s or 1930s. He's like, so which one? Which one do I pick? Now, we could all agree that cars are totally fundamental. Which one was the right one? Okay. The other example that he brought up was airlines. He's like, listen, there's not an airline in the history of airlines that hasn't gone bankrupt at some point.
Yeah.
Like, so if you were sitting around in the 1950s and you saw how the world would change because of airlines, because of air travel, and you picked any one of those airlines, you would have been wrong. Now, that's not to say we're not going to make travel plans with airlines.
Sure.
It just means investing in airlines would have been failed from the beginning. So the idea that this is the issue I've always had with crypto is, one, if you can't explain it to me in 10 minutes, because look, I'm not smart, but I'm also not dumb. Okay. If you can't explain it to me in 15 minutes or 10 minutes
or 30 seconds
or 30 seconds, right? And if you keep coming back, if we have a conversation that doesn't end with like me agreeing with you and you come back the next week with nothing better, I'm out. Okay?
other than I'm going to make so much money with this.
Right. You don't understand. Help me understand.
Yeah.
Because the people that were my real estate mentors, they helped me understand real fast. I remember this guy, Mark, sat me down with a legal pad over, we got like Indian food in Berkeley. And he sat me down with a legal pad and a felt pen. He just started writing out all this. He explained depreciation, appreciation,
delayed
principal
taxation,
the whole
on and
thing.
on.
Like,
Yeah.
that made sense real fast. The crypto never has. But again, if you're like all of the crypto people, it's the exact opposite of your second rule, which is when people disagree with you, you should listen to them. The crypto people, like you're saying, they just double down on their position. They're like, no, this is the best.
And what's the reasoning? I'm going to make so much money.
Right.
And it's like, okay, there might be a few very specialized, very, very individual people that, they make a bucket of money. And they sell at the right time and they get out. And that's true in most any, high return investment. Let's go old school. Let's go just kind of old fashioned. Let's go that. I'm looking at legacy. I'm looking at long term. I'm looking at what I'm going to pass on to my kids. Okay. And did you drink? No, I brought up crypto. I can't even blame it on you, Matt. I'm like, man, we're getting off the subject. But
I think it's so relevant considering your decision, because again, the decisions here, if you're considering getting into crypto and you're not saying, okay, I'm going to talk to 3 people that made it rich in crypto. If you're saying, I'm going to talk to 3 people who have a lot of money, and I'm going to ask those people who have a lot of money, who've avoided making terrible mistakes with their money, because a fool and his money are soon parted. I'm going to talk to those people. Are those people going to say crypto's a good idea? No. You're going to have to talk to a lot of people before you find, and once you find one that likes it, you can't get rid of them. And a lot of people made money in crypto in spite of themselves because they made a bet. They gambled and they got it right. Because which crypto do you go with? Which one?
Yeah,
which
there's
one?
Hundreds of them. Maybe there's thousands of them.
And when do you buy it?
Okay.
And how much? Like, you made money in spite of your bad decisions. Now, this can happen. Like, we see it with mass inflation and people very frequently. I have a friend who bought a property in California that was losing money all day long. But he bought it right before the jack up with prices during COVID. So he bought it. It was not a winner. He had vacancy. He had these horrible tenants. He had all this stuff, but inflation hit like crazy. Interest rates bottomed out and he walked away with like $600,000 a year. He made money in spite of himself. It was a bad investment. He just got bailed out by inflation.
Yeah. That's, I told you I've got the 5 rules and I told you I had a couple extra ones. One of the ones that we're not going to spend too much time on, unlike crypto, we've spent too much time on, is accept your luck, good or bad, and then stay humble. Because we're all going to have some luck in life.
Right.
We're all going to have some good luck. We're all going to have some bad luck. Accept it but stay humble, okay? Because we've all had friends that have done this. I had a friend that he bought a little piece of land, and he was kind of upset because the land always seemed kind of soggy. He was like, up on this hill, it's always kind of wet, and I don't know why. Well, many moons later, he finds out there's a spring there. He has the water tested. It's the most pure, whatever, most amazing water that anybody's seen coming out of a spring in a long time. He sets up a bottling plant.
This is real? You actually have a friend like this?
Yes. And he was a surfer dude. He'd never done anything serious. He bought this piece of land up in the hills where he wanted to build a cabin. There's a lot of backstory, but bottom line is this guy knew nothing about any kind of water. Good luck though. Turns out there's a spring on it. He starts bottling the water. It's unbelievable water. He got bought out by, by Dasani or somebody for some huge amount of money, $40-50 million.
God bless this guy.
Now he just went back to surfing. But, okay, good luck. There's bad luck too. I mean, you can follow all these rules and still have something go bad. I was in quite a few investments, 2004, 2005, 2006. We could see 2008 coming. We didn't know when it was going to happen. We knew there was a train wreck.
Sure.
But when you're in development and you're developing ground, you're putting together investments, it takes you 3, 4, 5 years. So we saw 2008 coming, but we couldn't stop. Okay, bad luck. Cost me a fortune getting through 2008. And then we thought, 2009, 2010, we'll catch up. I think I sold my last property from the 2008 debacle in 2019. God. Made payments on it for 11 years before I could actually sell it. So again, we went through the process, bad luck. So take your good luck, take your bad luck, and stay humble. Keep doing things right. Anyway.
Let's get back to it.
Yeah, get back to it. Number 4.
So let's recap. Number 1, talk to at least 3 people that are brighter than you or have something that you would like.
More experienced.
Great.
Yeah.
Talk to 2 people that you think most likely are going to disagree with you. Number 3, think through the long-term ramifications. So
let me.
Yeah, sorry.
One thing, talk to 2 people and listen to them. Okay, it's easy to find somebody that you don't agree with and just go, shut up. Listen to the hand. That kind of thing. No, stop and listen to them and see their reasoning. So go ahead.
Yeah. Number 3 is think through long-term ramifications. And even something as trivial as lunch, as you pointed out, not only do you have weight problems, but if you're, like in my line of work, I've always been an entrepreneur. So if I go and eat a 2,000 calorie lunch and come back, it's not that like I'm going to get paid.
Yeah.
It's like my boss isn't paying me even though I'm asleep at the wheel, right? Like if I do that consistently, I won't be an entrepreneur for very long because it's over.
But that just jumps me forward. Okay, another example. I've got a group of my buddies. There's, usually 3 or 4 of us, sometimes 5. We meet for happy hour. Okay. We don't have any rules about drinking alcohol or not drinking alcohol, but if it comes down to it and you stop and say, should I have another beer? No, I should probably go home and get some other stuff done. Oh no, I'm going to have another beer. Okay. Long-term ramification. You can take that very short-term decision and make it longer term and go, okay, I'm constantly going to do what I feel is the correct idea. Or am I going to have another beer and sit and talk some more and take another hour of my time? And, that could lead to another beer, whatever, or drink.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, long-term ramifications. You can take it very, very short, very small, very trivial, like lunch or happy hour, having another drink. Or you can look at it and go, okay, am I going to buy land? Am I going to make an investment in a company? Am I going to buy a stock? Am I going to buy a bond? Am I going to buy something with some substance? Or am I going to throw it at crypto? So, number 4, avoid being caught up in what's popular during a particular time. Okay? So, example of this is years ago, I had a friend come to me and say, I'm going to buy a Jeep. I said, really? And now this is, again, years ago. Jeeps have gotten better quality, but back then, I said, have you looked up, you know, the maintenance on Jeeps? Have you looked up the resale value? Have you really gotten into Jeeps? No, but they're so cool. My friend's got one, and they're just... And anyway, Jeeps were the big thing back then. So what's he do? He buys a Jeep. It's in the shop all the time. You know, the joke is when you buy a Jeep, you need 2 Jeeps so that you have one to drive while the other one's in the shop. Okay, so they were constantly being worked on. If you want to jump forward, not that long ago, the big thing was Range Rovers.
Right.
Same type thing. Okay, I remember reading the Consumer Reports on Range Rovers on the problems per 100 vehicles in new vehicles, and they had this list, and then Range Rover was not on the list. I thought, well, Range Rover should be at number 1. Then there's a note at the bottom. It said Range Rover had twice as many as the highest, you know, as number 1. So we couldn't put them on the graph because they were so far up. And yet people were buying Range Rovers as fast. Why? Because they were the popular thing. Everybody wanted one. So they weren't a good decision. They weren't obviously not a good investment, but they were popular. You know, what do we have going on right now? Stanley coolers.
Oh my gosh.
The 40.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody has to have a Stanley Cup. Okay, now why?
The pastel colors? I don't know. Why?
I have no idea. Okay, Stanley has been making cooler cups for whatever, 70, 80 years. All of a sudden, it's the have-to-have cup.
Right.
I've seen them on eBay or Craigslist, $40, $50, rare color, you know, whatever. It's like, wait a minute.
Do you remember the Beanie Baby craze?
Yeah.
Same thing.
So across the board, avoid being caught up in what's popular right now.
And one additional point, that avoid being caught up in something that's popular, even if it's a good idea in general. And what I mean by that is real estate goes through waves as well.
Sure.
You know, we saw that in 2004, 5, 6, 7, before the 8 crash. People were buying real estate, which, again, I believe in real estate. I bought real estate in that time. I still have that real estate. And people were buying it, but they were buying the popular thing for the wrong reason, right? They were buying it for the popular reason. I was buying it from the aspect of, okay, I'm 24. When I'm 44, this will be crushing.
Or 64.
Or 64, whatever.
Long term.
I was buying it for the right reason. So when the real estate values went up and then swung down and then came back up, like none of it matters to me because my horizon was 20 years. When people were buying the right thing for the wrong reasons, for the popular reasons, they got destroyed in 2008, 2009, 2010 because they were buying it with the intention of, you know, capturing that appreciation. They were going to, you know, jack up the rents. They were going to do all these things. So again, even if you have, it gets confusing. The understanding and differentiating, okay, is this thing bad in general, right? Is a Range Rover bad in general? Jeep bad in Stanley Cup bad in general? Or is it good in general, but you're buying it for the popular reason?
Because it's popular.
Right.
Yeah. And that gets into a whole nother layer of decision-making, which is timing.
Right.
And, you know, we can talk about that another one. The last one, and this is one that I've always had a rule, you know, no matter where my success went or finances or anything, if it's over $100, sleep on it. Okay. Don't make the decision today if you just kind of ran into the deal today. Sleep on it. Because how many times have we done something impulsively and went, oh, if I could just get that back. Oh, sign here, sign on the dotted line. We close at 8. You better do it now. You better hurry up. Come on, let's do it now. Right. And you have to stop and ask yourselves, wait a minute. What's going to be different tomorrow than today? Other than I can sleep on it. And even if I've gone through the rules, even if I've gone through the steps, I want to sleep on this and I just want to feel right about it. Because you wake up in the morning and there's a chance you're going to feel differently about it. Your mind would have sorted through some things. You're going to come up with some different parameters, some different ideas and go, you know what? I just don't feel comfortable about this.
Right. Yeah. My dad actually taught me that with regard to angry emails. It's like,
Don't hit send.
because again, when emails really became popular, it was so easy to just fire off this insane email that you didn't have, like, you weren't sending a letter like that. You sit down and like type out a letter,
Such a
and
great example.
you weren't getting on the phone and yelling at somebody.
Yeah.
Like, emails was a different type of communication that was both instantaneous and lasting, and
you could feel good.
oh, you type that thing of send, and his recommendation was always like, listen, you can be angry about things. Just wait 24 hours. And if you still feel the same way, then hit send. And in fact, as a younger man, I think when I was like 20 or something, I had sent an email, and then we had actually gotten on the phone, and I was, we sorted out whatever issue it was. And he said, listen, I'm not even going to read that email. Do you want me to read that email? This is after we had resolved it. I'm like, yeah, don't read it. He's like, yeah, there you go. Good. He's like, just you learned your lesson.
You can't take it back.
You can't.
And there's so many decisions like that as well, whether they're investments, whether they're, whatever, going through a decision-making process, whether we're going to stay at happy hour another period of time. Think about it, sleep on it, and see if it still feels good the next day.
Right.
And I've done that throughout my life. And, when Warren Buffett says about there's only so many, I think he quotes, I don't want to misquote him, but he said there's only about 10 to 20 decisions you have to make right to be successful throughout your life. It's the ones that you make wrong that you have to avoid. He said, because those are the ones that will drag you down, that will hurt you for the longest time. And so sleeping on it, hopefully, will keep you not necessarily making better decisions, but keep you from making the bad ones.
Right.
So stopping and giving yourself that time to just say, you know what? I'm going to let it be. I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to wake up, and I'm going to think about it, maybe a little differently, maybe exactly the same. Maybe I decide it's a good idea, and I sleep on it and go, yeah, I know it's a good idea.
Yeah.
So just review 5 rules for making decisions. And they can be as simple as where are we going to go to lunch? How long are we going to stay at happy hour? Or are we going to buy this, $5 million apartment complex? We're going to, number one, we're going to search out 3 people that are masters, that are smarter than us, that have more experience, that are going to give us some of their thoughts. Plus or minus. We're not looking to build a team. We're not trying to make a decision. Are they going to like my idea or not? But let's look at 3 people. Let's talk to them. Second one is, let's talk to 2 people we're pretty sure are going to go against whatever we say. If we're looking at buying a brand new car, let's talk to a couple of people that don't think it's a good idea to buy a new car. Maybe it's not a good idea to buy a new car at all because they're terrible investments. They're not even really an investment. They're terrible as an asset. Or they don't. Maybe it's a person that doesn't like the car that we're thinking about buying. So, and then listen to them. Listen to their reasoning. Don't shut them off. Don't come up with, in our own mind, oh, you're so wrong because of this. Listen to them. Find out what their reasoning is, and then let it soak through and let that process go. Number 3, think through the long-term ramifications. How is this decision going to affect us 5, 10, 15 years from now? I heard a saying a long time ago, and I don't know if it's true or not. I'd like to think it's true. And they said that the Native Americans made decisions based on, is this good for 7 generations from now? Where they grazed their animals, how many buffalo they shot, where they lived during the summer and the winter, and where they drew water from, which springs, all these different decisions that they made. Is this good for 7 generations from us? That's pretty long-term ramification. Number 4, avoid being caught up in what's popular. Okay, let's make decisions on, is this a good idea? Not just, well, all my friends have it. And it could be, again, it could be a pair of shoes. It could be an investment that's quite a bit of money. Even to the point of, and I was talking with my son, this is years ago, of course, what are you going to major in when you go to college? Well, all my friends are doing this. I said, is that what you want to do? He said, well, I don't know, but that's what all my friends are doing. Well, of course, he decided to go into something else because he went through the decision-making process. So avoid what's popular. And no, Matt, I don't have a Stanley Cup.
God bless you, sir.
I think I'm the only one that doesn't.
Well, I don't either. This is a generic cup off Amazon, so there you go.
Well, you're missing out. You need a peach-colored one.
Oh my God, how dare you?
Oh, and then the last one. No matter how good you feel about it, stay away from being impulsive. Sleep on it. See what you think the next day. Let your mind just rest, wander, whatever. You might come up with the same exact decision. You might come up with a reason you don't think it's good. You might not feel comfortable, but sleep on it. Make that decision. And you can have your different parameters. Mine's always $100. And you can call me cheapskate, but I don't spend over $100 unless I've slept on it. Anything above that, I'm going to think it through. I might go through this whole process. I might go through some reduced process, but I'm going to sleep on it. Okay. So I guess that's it. Hopefully we can, I guess wrapping it up, following some rules for decision making. We can go with our gut. We can go impulsively. We can jump around. But again, going back to Warren Buffett, there's only 10 or 20 things we have to make right to have a really successful life. It's the ones that we make. It's the mistakes we make. It's the decisions that take us down and lead us to problems that we want to avoid. And hopefully these 5 rules for decision making are going to help us avoid those.
Yeah, 100%. And no matter what the process is that you use to determine what you should be doing, have a process.
Yeah.
Whatever, just have a process, and it could be, hey, my process is listen to my gut and, read the tea leaves. Okay. You have a process. You have something that you made a decision that held up against these things, right? And I don't believe the tea leaves or your gut. Just start with having a process. See how the process you're using plays out, see how it works or doesn't work, and then modify your process. But you'll never get to having a robust, successful process unless you have one to start with, and then you start looking at what you're getting out of that process.
Yeah. Or you could throw it out to your friends on Facebook and see what they have to say.
Oh my God, stop.
Okay, let's stop.
Thanks, Zane.
Thanks, Matt.